do we live in a Big Ten world now? What do you think? Has the balance shifted?
There is, yeah. I mean, you have to go back to another one of your arch rivals. Michigan State won back-to-back in the 1960s,
right,
under Duffy Daugherty. That's the last time a Big Ten school, the Big Ten, had back-to-back national champs.
Well, and now with Oregon part of the conference, Saban sitting on a television set, and
it's a different world in the like NIL and the portal has changed the dynamic a lot, because right now it was harder to like store, elite prospects and elite talent, because a lot of the times those guys are leaving as freshmen and go to play someplace else. And so I think it's why some of the talent has also been scattered around. I mean, South Carolina had a really good team this year. They had 5-star guys and big time difference maker guys who are at South Carolina now, where maybe 5 years ago they would have been at Georgia or they would have been at Alabama. It's not to say that those teams aren't still really talented, but they're not as talented or that much more talented than some of these other places. So some of that SEC talent now is in Oxford, Mississippi. Certainly some of it is now in the Big Ten. A lot of it is in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Caleb Downs just...
They have the two best players in college football. One came from South Florida, Jeremiah Smith. The other one was on Nick Saban's roster.
And how many are coming back?
Well, those two guys are. And I mean, those are one's definitely the best player in the country. I mean, J.J. Smith is incredibly talented. He's only going to keep getting better because you hear about his work ethic and his drive. Caleb Downs is an elite defensive back and a leader. They went in the portal. They've got two really good offensive tackle guys to step in. They have a really good tight end they added who, the guys inside the program tell me they kind of reminds them of Zach Ertz. So that's a plus. They're losing Will Howard, who I don't think until late Monday night got enough credit for being as
he was superb.
Yeah, he was.
He was superb. I was equating him to Phil Simms in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he didn't miss 22 of 25 or 23 of 25. Yeah, he didn't.
And the throws were awesome. They were exactly where he needed to be. He had a full command. He used his legs appropriately. He stayed away from the big hit, which he did not do against Michigan. He was terrific. He's
terrific. Really smart, and I think they have a lot of talent around them. They just, two terrific running backs. The defense is so good.
Those guys are violent.
I know.
They make moves in the hole. My God, do they make moves in the hole? And between tackles, they're terrific.
To me, has always been like a wow running back. You saw it on the 75-yard screen pass right before halftime in the semifinal game. You saw Judkins. They talk about Judkins, about his toughness and what he brings.
Right.
I mean, they'll still be really good. They are losing a boatload of outstanding college football players at all three levels. We talk a lot about, and rightly so, about Jack Sawyer and JTT, the two defensive ends. They've been there forever. And Cody Simon is a guy that, knowing James Laurinaitis, who's a linebacker coach, cannot stop raving about him. Not just what he's on the field, but the sacrifice and the selflessness and all the things that I think become integral when you're going to have a national title team. Because what I think was an eye-opening thing for a lot of us who cover the sport day in and day out is it really felt like there was two different seasons. It was the first season, which was, and maybe this is something like, I don't cover the NFL year-round, but it's like there's the regular season, which is long, and then there's the playoffs, which also can be long. Because talking to Chip Kelly after the national title game, his point was about the Michigan loss was, you can sit and look there and go, okay, back in the day, if you lose your last regular season game, you may be going to like the Blue Bonnet Bowl.
Yeah, you're toast.
And he said, so it's either, you have to look at it, you can look at it one of two ways. It's either a tombstone or a stepping stone. And clearly that program believed that it was going to be a stepping stone. And I think the way they prepared and managed, I think there's a lot of things that other coaches are going to take from how this is, because it's just a different world. They both played 16 games, and they could have, Notre Dame couldn't have played 17 because there's no conference title game.
Right.
But if Penn State had gotten there, or if Ohio State did play in the big, they would have played 17 games.
So Did Chip Kelly say that the loss to Michigan was actually big in their? And I'm not trying to troll here. I'm not. Like, I mean, he had his fun yesterday with Overreaction Monday on a Tuesday, saying Michigan shouldn't have planted the flag. That was
the impetus. I don't.
But did Chip Kelly basically say, like, you know, like our loss to Michigan?
He didn't say it like that. But a couple of weeks ago at the Rose Bowl, I remember Tyleik Williams was an outstanding defensive tackle. It was like that was a wake up call. You know, that was something that a lot of players talked about after the Rose Bowl.
Well, well, then, you know, you're welcome, and I'm just glad, you know, Michigan's national championship run, we didn't have to have that as a stepping stone. There were other issues that Michigan had to overcome.
What are you talking about? You had like 7 years in a row of being the stepping stone like that. Like, you know, I know enough Michigan people inside that program talked about beat Ohio period. It was like,
sure.
I think Ohio State had an integral role in Michigan upping its game.
Oh, no question.
You know,
well,
that's the way it should be.
That's the way I totally agree. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.